Sometimes realizations just kind of come in at the most random times. We were about to be late, but I was taking a shower actually, and just came in, just had this really quick realization, and then I ran upstairs and I started writing it on the wall before I forget. And it was about aligning the expressions that we have, making sure they're all aligned. And there's 5 particular expressions that came to me. And the 5 of them are the action that we do, the words that we speak. So it's action, words, and 3 levels of thought: our conversational thoughts, our whisper thoughts, and our awareness thoughts, kind of things that we're conscious of. And it came to me that it's very important that all 5 levels are aligned, and that when they are not aligned, that's when we are facing resistance. That's when we say one thing and do another. That's when we are thinking one thing, but somehow we just can't seem to do the action, and we end up running into a lot of self-sabotage. That's the source of self-sabotage. A lot of times it's because these lower levels they're not aligned. So for example, maybe our action ultimately is the expression in this world, is what we do to create. But let's say our expression isn't really fully as focused as it could be. We find ourselves kind of self-sabotaging our actions. Instead of going straight and just getting things done, we put random things in a way that don't matter. We kind of put things off when they shouldn't be put off. We put other things as priority when they shouldn't be. We end up just kind of self-sabotaging ourselves, right, in action. And then if we take a notice of it, we realize, I could have got this thing done so much faster, but I kind of just been putting it off. I kind of just been dancing around it. Why is that? What's stopping me from just going in and just getting it done? And so when this happens, I realize it's because these lower level thoughts that we're not aware of are actually saying very different things than what we are aware of. For example, our action says, I want to get this thing done. But our lower level thought is saying, I'm scared to do this thing. I'm not ready to do this yet. I'm not ready to go ahead and experience the results of this. I'm afraid because this reminds me of something else that I'm afraid of. Or I really don't know what to do. I'm not confident enough in myself to do this thing. These lower thoughts are saying that, but we don't hear it. And so on the outside, we go, I got it, I'm gonna do it. And then we don't seem to actually move forward really quickly. Because sometimes when I think about goals that we accomplish, we have times to where we accomplish it really, really fast. And then there are times to where it's really, really slow. We feel like we're just doing a lot of work, but we're not really getting anything done. We're busy, but our priorities aren't actually moving forward. And it's because these lower level thoughts are not aligned. They're directly going against what it is that we want, but we're just not aware of it. And these lower level thoughts, because we can't really hear them normally because they're too low in volume. We either need to have a silent mind that is so silent that we become aware of it, that we start to quiet them down, or we change them. We don't quiet them down, but we end up changing them. We change them anyways. And the way we will change it without actually having to quiet them down, because when it comes to creation, we can't really not have just any thoughts. thoughts are actually required for us to be creating. If not, we're just constantly doing things in the moment, but we have no plans. We can't project anything. We don't have any visions. All of that has to do with thoughts. So it's not really so much of quieting them down. When we quiet them down, it's only so we can replace it with something else. If not, we can't create anything. So something else I was thinking of is we can take the action and experience emotions that create a new thought. So for example, if I want to go ahead and accomplish this task and I'm doing my best to kind of take this action, but the action is not really happening the way I want. I tell people and I tell myself, I'm ready to do it. But my whisper thoughts is I have some doubts. And my awareness thoughts, the really non-sound ones, the ones that are the lowest, are going, I'm just afraid, but I'm not aware of them. When I get myself to do the action, despite feeling really, really, really uncomfortable, but every time when I do the action, when I recognize the sabotage and I just do it anyways, despite being afraid, despite feeling uncomfortable, just moving forward and doing it, I'm showing myself that I am capable. I'm showing myself that I'm not afraid. I'm showing myself that this is possible. I'm showing myself that it's working and I deserve it. The disbeliefs, the fears that we have on the lower levels automatically get changed because of what we are realizing when we take the action, from what we are experiencing when we take the action. So this is basically a way to bypass fears without having to dive in to understand exactly what they are. I think at some point we'll understand it anyways. But it's kind of connecting the dots between why, if we were to face our fears and we were to go and just do it and do it and do it, despite feeling all this uncomfortableness and having all this doubt, but still going to do it. And by doing it, it changes us as a person. And it affects these lower thoughts that we're not aware of, that we don't hear, it affects them. And basically connecting the dots to why, understanding the reason between it. And it's because those lower thoughts, we don't actually hear them. They're almost like, we can say it's like a belief. But what is a belief if it's not just a lower thought that we're not hearing? Right? Because we can say a belief is a loud thought. Here's what I believe. Let me tell you what I hear in my head. But a belief is also a lower thought, and also thoughts that we're not aware of. But we are still aware, we're not hearing it, but we still are aware of this thought. I can say these are all just beliefs, but this belief can be changed not by being aware of the belief, but by simply doing action that creates a new belief. That's how we change these beliefs. So I just wanted to share that with you. I'm always fascinated with understanding how things work in our mind and finding new routes to get there. Because one way to get to these thoughts is to meditate deep enough to where we become conscious of the whispers and we become conscious of what we are aware of. We become conscious that, man, I see myself in this way. I'm conscious of, I see my life in this way. I see my partner in this way. I always saw her as being this when that is not true. I see my work as being this when that's not true. I see myself as this type of person. That's absolutely not true. But I never knew that I saw myself as this person because I wasn't aware of those thoughts. I wasn't aware of that low level, subtle thought, that third level thought. That's just a matter of awareness. I wasn't ever aware of it. So that's one way to do it, deep into meditation. But another way is simply to go ahead and go after the goals that we want, accomplish it, and ruthlessly go after it and face the fears and keep facing it and hitting the fears, despite feeling the doubts and feeling all this uncomfortableness in our body and continuously moving forward. And by doing that, we also become aware of these deep-rooted fears. And we become aware of the old beliefs that we are totally dismantling because we're moving forward and facing them. Another way to do that is by, well, I wouldn't say it's another way. I would say when we go into our body and we come into this calm state, and we come into a state of relaxation, state of calmness, we now don't have the emotion to support certain thoughts. So we got these thoughts that are running in our head that are creating our beliefs. These thoughts are anchored by our emotions, and we don't have the same emotions anymore to support those thoughts because these thoughts are supported by emotions. They kind of work together. They're of the same frequency. They're of the same energy signature. When we release those emotions, we also release the fuel, the energy source for these thoughts. So we can say it's almost like a third method, right? It's like another way to get to accomplishing the same thing. So to sum it up, the first route here is going after and just doing the actions and facing all the fears, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And by doing that, we change these lower thoughts. We change all 5 of these things and allow them to be aligned. Our actions, our words, our 3 levels of thoughts, our conversational thoughts, our whisper thoughts, our awareness thoughts. We change all of them simply because we're taking action, facing our fears, and the results of facing our fears, results of accomplishing this is proof that fears in our system doesn't exist, that is not real. We start to challenge these directly. We start to change it because we have real life proof in front of us because we took the action and saw the proof. The second way to do it is to meditate deep enough and to realize the thoughts that we are having and to change them by first realizing them, realizing that's not true anymore, coming up with new ones. The third one is a similar approach to the last, except it's to go into the body, which also happens in deep meditation as well. Go into the body, release the emotions, and when the emotions are released, the deep thoughts, the thoughts don't have the same fuel, and now therefore we can change them. If we didn't release the emotions, the thoughts would be more difficult to change. And this also happens through meditation. So we can say it's really more of like just 2 different methods, except the second method here is releasing emotions while at the same time being aware of these deeper thoughts.